What is up, ladies and gents? It's your boy Jermaine Event, main on MMA, and today, ladies and gents, we are checking out a video from the YouTube channel MMADigest. All right, it is their year-end UFC recap. All right, I'm going to check out their recap for the year of 2024 in the UFC, and we'll react to that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into it.
Ilia Topuria is the fighter of the year this year because he accomplished what no one else in the history of MMA has done, knocking out both Holloway and Volkanovski in the same calendar year. No one's knocked out Holloway before, despite him facing some really heavy hitters. Volkanovski was unstoppable at 145, and he got stopped by Topuria. Topuria didn't just beat the top two guys right now in the featherweight division. He beat two of the greatest featherweights of all time, solidifying his claim as the best featherweight on the planet right now and the fighter of the year in 2024.
I agree.
Honorable mention to Alex Pereira, who headlined 3 UFC pay-per-views in under 6 months.
Shout out to Charles Johnson, Charles Energy Johnson. John Silva had a good year. Carlos Pratis, whole Fighting Nerds gym had a good year. A lot of people, man. A lot of people need to be mentioned.
And he knocked out all his opponents in those main events. Khalil Roundtree Jr., Jamal Hill, and Yuri Prochazka. Event of the year, UFC 300. It had...
See, man, I've seen people say UFC 300. That card was stacked, definitely. But I'd say the best card of the year, in my opinion, is Noche. That's the most unforgettable card of the year. I thought that was just so aesthetically amazing. I rocks with Noche. That's my event of the year.
Really high expectations, and it far exceeded them. Many great moments on that card, including the knockout of the year, Holloway over Gaethje, and the comeback of the year, Moicano versus...
Nah. Knockout of the year is definitely Ilia knocking out Holloway. You don't get knockout of the year after piecing a dude up for 5 rounds. And then when you convince this guy to just stand and bang, you knock him out. You were piecing that dude up all night. You're whooping his ass with boxing. He's whooping his ass for that whole fight. That's not knockout of the year. Ilia knocking out Holloway, knockout of the year. Comeback of the year, definitely not Moicano over Turner. Like, did y'all even watch that fight? Turner dropped him, thought he had a walk away, like a walk-off knockout, and the ref didn't stop the fight. And then Moicano came back. I feel like there was an adrenaline dump. Moicano was able to sub him. But Turner thought that fight was over. That fight is wonky. Definitely not comeback of the year. I wouldn't say that. I don't know what the comeback of the year, but definitely not that fight.
Jalen Turner. Fight of the year, Ribovics versus Zell Huber. So many swings and momentum. Looks like one guy's going to get stopped, then it looks like the next guy's going to get stopped, and back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, I've seen some people say that. Definitely not me. Damn, I forget who I had, because I reacted to the Weasel, and there was a problem with the video, so I couldn't upload it. And a lot of people were saying this fight is fight of the year. I doubt it. This is not fight of the year. This fight wasn't for much. It wasn't high stakes in that fight. You got Zell Huber just standing on the fence, just taking punches. That wasn't high level, in my opinion. That was silly. Definitely not fight of the year for me. I would say, in my opinion, Makhachev Poirier is probably fight of the year, with Petr Yan versus Diego Figueiredo as like a close runner-up. That was a great fight. That was a high-level fight there. Like, it happened at the end of the year, so I feel like people are kind of like overlooking it. But that was a really good fight. All right. So my top 2 fights of the year would be Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. Great fight. Fight of the year, in my opinion, with Petrian versus Davison Figueiredo as a close second.
Fourth fight of the year. Breakthrough fighter of the year, Joaquin Buckley, 4 wins in 2020.
I guess that's hard to argue. I would say Charles Energy Johnson had a great year. As Weasel mentioned in his video, Yusuf Zalal had a good year. But I say this is a good pick. It's a pretty good pick.
4, he stopped Luque, he stopped Wonderboy, he stopped Colby Covington. He was an average fighter at 185, dropped down to 170, and he's worked his way all the way to the number 6 position in the division. Comeback fighter of the year, Yusuf Zalal fought in the regional scene to get back into the UFC, and this year had 3 big wins, stopping all his opponents: Jack Shore, Billy Q, and Jarno
He probably saw the Weasel MMA video.
Upset of the year, Fernandez over Wang Tong. Wang Tong was a 12-1 favorite. Didn't matter. Fernandez won. Debut of the year, Mauricio Rufy versus Jamie Malarkey. Rufy looked like a prime.
I say upset. I don't know about upset of the year. If anything, I say a lot of you motherfuckers were all about Leon was going to dominate Bilal. If anything, that's upset of the year. You guys were, I thought you guys were so crazy for that. Debut of the year, I don't know about that. Debut of the year. I was working a weird shift. I was working 3rd shift most of the year. And I just, ladies and gentlemen, had a Christmas miracle. No more 3rd shift so I can watch more fights like I want to. Yeah, it's going down. Fighting Nerds, definitely team of the year.
Conor McGregor in there, which goes into the team of the year. The Fighting Nerds, which has Rufy, Jean Silva, Kyle Bahayo, and Carlos Prates. And Prates is my rookie of the year. 4 victories in 2024. All stoppages, stopping Neil Magny.
Prates was about to step in and fight Shavkat short notice. It didn't, like the UFC didn't let it happen because they found out he was hurt. And they weren't going to let him do it, but he was going to do it hurt. He's going to fight Shavkat, like completely compromised.
Stopping Trevin Giles, stopping Charles Radke, stopping Li Jingliang. On the other end of the spectrum, the worst decision of the year, Gane versus Volkov. Everyone saw it the way of Volkov, but 2 judges gave it to Gane. Split decision for Volkov. Worst decision of the year.
I don't know about worst decision. That fight meant nothing to me.
Retirements this year, Stipe Miocic, 2-time UFC heavyweight champion. Miocic retired after his TKO loss to John Jones at UFC 309. Holds the record for most consecutive title defenses in the UFC heavyweight division and will be in the Hall of Fame. Damon Jackson, after a submission loss to Jim Miller, also at UFC 309, announced his retirement.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Matt Brown announced his retirement in May. He's known for his aggressive style of fighting and being tough as nails. So many exciting fights, and is ranked 2nd for the most knockouts in UFC history. Joanne Wood retired after her fight at UFC 299 against Marina Moroz, won a split decision, and called it a career.
Dropped the Calder.
Jack Shore announced his retirement earlier this month,
which
is
is
a
like
little
30,
bit surprising.
31.
The Welsh bantamweight's only 29 years old. He had an impressive record of 17-3 to end his career at one point. The UFC had 42 events this year. Ankalaev versus Walker 2 kicked off the year. No controversy in this one. Their first one ended in a no contest due to a legal knee, but no controversy this time. Walker lost via TKO. Then it was UFC 297, Strickland versus Duplessis. Duplessis won a close split decision in an entertaining fight. Before
who y'all got in this rematch here? I thought Strickland did pretty good and could have been more active and got the job done. This is a pretty closely contested fight here. It's going to be an interesting rematch.
That fight, though, was one of the worst fights of the year. Pennington versus Bueno Silva.
Definitely not one of the worst fights of the year.
In a weird-looking fight. He won a decision in that one. Also on that card, 11-second no contest, super fast no contest. Muradov got eye poked badly by Hizidiev. Then Jack Hermanson had a good performance as an underdog versus Joe Pyfer, winning a decision. He wasn't going to allow Joe Pyfer to use his name as a stepping stone to move up into the rankings. Anaheim, California got to witness a star being born at UFC 298 as Ilia Topuria knocked out Alex Volkanovski to win the featherweight title. UFC then traveled to Mexico, and Royval looked good as an underdog to win a decision over Moreno, and Ortega tapped out Rodriguez in round 3.
I would like to see that third fight between Moreno and Royval. Moreno looked a lot better in his last fight.
Gaziev was gassed out against Rosenstruck. He was done. People thought his corner should have thrown in the towel, but they didn't. But Mark Goddard did at the end of round 4. Miami, Florida got to witness O'Malley with a decision over Vera, and Poirier knockout
Pointless ass fight between O'Malley and Vera.
Tybura choked out Tai Tuivasa 4 minutes and 8 seconds into the first round at the UFC Apex. Rose Namajunas won a unanimous decision over Amanda Ribas, also at the UFC Apex. UFC traveled to Atlantic City, New Jersey, and Fiorot won a clear-cut decision over Erin Blanchfield to solidify herself as a #1 contender, and Luque got knocked out by Buckley in the co-main events. Brendan Allen won a decision over Chris Curtis. Close and controversial decision, but good fight. Herrera knocks out Hill in the main event of UFC 300. 2 weeks later at the UFC Apex, Perez knocked out Nicolau in the main event. At UFC 301 in Rio, Urseg looked good, but ultimately it was Pantoja who won a decision.
Man, Urseg looked great in that fight and then get knocked out by Kai in the first round in his next fight. That's crazy, dude. I thought Urseg was about to be the champion.
Decision victory in that flyweight title fight. And Jose Aldo looked great in a decision victory over Jonathan Martinez. In St. Louis, Derek Lewis knocked out Nascimento in round 3, adding to his record for the most knockouts in UFC history. The following weekend, the UFC went back to the UFC.
Ooh, sleeper fight of the year right there. That was a banger. Barboza Murphy was a banger, ladies and gents. Sleeper fight of the year.
Apex, and in the main event, Lerone Murphy won a unanimous decision over Edson Barboza. 2 weeks later, the UFC traveled to Newark, New Jersey for Makhachev versus Poirier. Poirier got another title shot. Unfortunately, it ended the same way with him getting choked out in the co-main.
Damn, Strickland fought Costa? I don't even remember that fight. Like, my fight of the year is right there. I definitely watched that fight. But I don't care for Strickland.
Event, Strickland foot jabbed his way to a unanimous decision victory over Paulo Costa. UFC traveled to Louisville, Kentucky the following weekend, and Cannonier lost by 4th round TKO against Amavov. He protested the stoppage. Nonetheless, it went down as a 4th round TKO. Back to the UFC Apex, and Perez injured his leg. TKO victory for Tyra in that main event.
No, that was a legit win by Tyra. I don't understand why people phrase it like, oh, freak injury. Like, he was hanging off this man's back and then doing this thing where he kept jerking back, like putting all the weight on this man's leg. And then when his leg gave out, they're like, oh, that was a freak accident for Tyra. It's like, no, it wasn't. He fucking caused the injury.
Riyadh, Saudi Arabia hosted the next event, Whitaker versus Aliskerov.
Yo, this was, honestly, I thought Aliskerov was going to beat Whitaker. And Whitaker walks through Aliskerov. So I was like, oh, shit. Whitaker's probably going to walk through Hamza. That's where I win. That's how my MMA math works. The way he was so easily just slice through Aliskerov. But Aliskerov was no match for Whitaker.
Whitaker won via first round uppercut. At UFC 303, Pereira and Prochazka fight again, and the fight ends the same way as the first one in that it's a second round KO victory for Pereira. Then on to Denver, Colorado.
I was there for that one, ladies and gents.
In the main event, punched her eyelash off on.
Supposed to be Barber Namajunas, but Barber pulled out. Hasn't fought since then. Said she was going through some, I think, mental health things. But she's, I think, recently getting back to training. But it was dealing with some other things, man.
Route to unanimous decision victory. Credit to Cortez, though, replacing Macy Barber and taking this fight on relatively short notice. Back to the UFC Apex, where Virna Jandiroba wins by
Jandiroba.
second round armbar against Amanda Lemos. Then on to Manchester, England for UFC 305.
I think Jandiroba is the real #1 contender, and I think Tatiana Suarez is going to get hurt, pull out of that fight. She's going to end up fighting anyway.
As an underdog, Bilal Muhammad is a great performance, winning a unanimous decision
Underdog
over
fighter
Leon
of the year
Edwards to win the UFC welterweight title. Then the following week, on to Dubai for UFC Fight Night Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov. Nurmagomedov wins the unanimous decision, catapulting him up the rankings and putting him into title contention and getting the title shot he has now. Back to the UFC Apex for Tybura versus Spivak Part 2. Spivak wastes no time, gets the fight to the ground. 144 into the contest, gets the submission via armbar.
Yep.
Perth, Australia got to witness a great main event at UFC 305.
Sad night for me, ladies and gentlemen. Very sad night. Izzy's boxing looked great, but sad night.
Between DDP and Adesanya, which ended with DDP winning
Rumble
by 4th
in the
round
jungle.
submission. Bohayo was impressive in his decision victory over Cannonier. Then Brady won a one-sided decision over Burns. Incredible production at the Sphere at UFC 306. Belts changed hands. Merab won the belt against O'Malley. Grasso lost her belt to Shevchenko. 2 weeks later, the UFC traveled to Paris, where Benoit Saint-Denis lost by second round TKO.
Man, that takedown Moicano had where he caught the leg, pulled him in, and took the back, that shit was crazy. One of the greatest takedowns I've ever seen.
Via doctor stoppage at the end of round 2. Then on to Salt Lake City, Utah, where Pereira defeated Roundtree Jr. in the main event, and Juliana Pena won back the bantamweight title against Raquel Pennington. Back to the UFC Apex the next weekend, and Royval stopped the ascent to Tyra by winning a unanimous decision. And the following weekend, also at the UFC Apex, Anthony Hernandez got a 5th round stoppage over a completely gassed out Michel Pereira. On to Abu Dhabi the next weekend, where Topuria knocks out Holloway and Chimaev taps out Whitaker. From Abu Dhabi to Edmonton.
Hey, let's just go back. Y'all better watch out for Fluffy, man. Anthony Hernandez is on the rise, ladies and gents. See big things for that boy.
Alberta, where Moreno wins a dominant decision over Albazi. Back to the UFC Apex the following weekend, where Pratesh continues to impress, knocking out Neil Magny in the first round. On to New York City the following weekend, where John Jones stops Stipe in the main event in the 3rd round, and Stipe retires. Then on to Macau 2 weeks later, where Piotr Yan wins a unanimous decision over Davison Figueiredo. 2 weeks later in the main event of UFC 310,
unnecessary fight.
Pantoja continues his dominance in the flyweight division, tapping out promotional newcomer Kai Asakura, which led to the final event of the year, UFC Tampa, headlined by Colby Covington versus Joaquin Buckley. Buckley gets the TKO via doctor stoppage and moves to the number 6 position in the welterweight division. Great year for the UFC. Did you have a favorite moment? Let me know in the comments. Did you watch any of these events live in person? Let me know in the comments.
So that was the UFC year recap from MMADigest. I thought that was pretty dope. He went over all the cards. Definitely some sleeper cards in there that I forgot about. What did you guys think about that? What are some of your fights of the year? What are your year-end rewards or awards? What are your year-end awards for the UFC? What are some of your favorite cards from the year? As I said, I love the Noche UFC 306. Probably my favorite card of the year. Some great fights, man. Great fights. My fight of the year, Makhachev Poirier. Fighter of the year, Ilia Topuria. With people like Carlos Prates, Charles Energy Johnson right there in the running for fighter of the year as well, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure to go give MMADigest a like and subscribe. Check out the full video. Thank you guys once again for being here. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I will see you guys when I see you. I'll holla.